Introduce to you one more time, Leslie, because she's joined. We had 1 week of a guest speaker, and then we had 3 weeks of our guest speaker preaching, and then today is our next guest in kind of our summer guest series. We're really blessed to have you, Leslie. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. So you're going to tell us more about you and what the Lord's been saying to you, but let's just give her one more welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, friends. How are you?
Good morning.
I'll tell you what, there's nothing that makes me happier than a chatty church. You know, when they say greet people and it's loud and that's healthy. I urge you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice. Not a sleeping sacrifice, not a boring sacrifice, not a dull sacrifice. A living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may know what the perfect will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. I said earlier that there's no greater day to be a Christian, and I really mean that. I don't want to mess this up. Sure. I'm not going to talk super long because I'm going to talk for like 5 minutes. You've heard that before. 10 minutes, maybe. My name's Leslie Garman, and I have high heels in my car, but I walked in with my favorite shoes. Women, do any of you guys wear fit flops? Anyone? They're like fit flops. They're like the best shoes in the world. And so I always wear them, and so I brought my, black heels to wear, and then I saw everyone in here looking really comfortable, and I thought, forget it. So I'm keeping those, and let me just tell you, my youngest daughter made this ring for me. Okay, so I was raised in Porterville, California. Do any of you know where Porterville is? You do? How come? You were born there? How old were you when you moved away? How old were you when you left Porterville? 10? What school did you go to? Oh, I think I asked you that last week, huh? Rockford. My dad started his career at Rockford and ended up at Burton. I went to West Putnam. All right, so some of you know it's in between Fresno and Bakersfield. It's an agricultural town. Lots of citrus, lots of cotton. Lindsay olive plant used to be there, lots of olives. And so anyway, I'm a proud Portervillian. I'm a proud farm girl. And if you have met my husband, Greg, you might know, you might not know, but I married Tarzan. Did you know that? Raise your hand if you did not know that I married Tarzan. I just want to know. Okay, cool. This is worth telling because this is great. So when I was a little girl living in Porterville, I had my little bucket list of things I wanted to do. One of them was walk on the moon. I don't think that's ever going to happen. One of them was go to the Amazon jungle. Well, Greg, our district superintendent, your district superintendent, he was raised in the Amazon jungle with a tribe of Indians. And so his home, in the Nazarene denomination, they were the most remote missionaries. No running water. I mean, they had water, they had to boil it. They lived on the junction of two rivers, but no electricity, no cars, no roads, no nothing, right? And so he was raised in the Amazon and would hunt alligators and eat grub worms and still do all that stuff that he still does today. He just got back from Peru a couple weeks ago, and he told me he had more grub worms this time than ever before, which, of course, that might gross some of you out, but to me it's like, oh, my hero, I just love it. So I've been down like 25 times or something, 28 times, something like that. We've been married for 33 or 34 years. I cannot remember. We have 2 daughters, Aubrey, who's 30 and lives in Philadelphia, and Spencer, who is 27 and married and lives in Bend, Oregon. I am a mother-in-law. And I am blessed to have a family who loves the Lord. And I mean, that is the goal of my life, for my kids to come into an active relationship with Jesus Christ. And I really literally believe it's as sincere as crossing over the line from this rug into this carpet when we decide to come into a relationship with the Lord. It's not, okay, I guess whatever. I mean, sometimes it is, but if you really want it, if you really, if it's burning in you, you want to step and make that very, very solid step. I know that some of you here may not have a relationship with the Lord. And can I tell you how glad I am that you're here? If the church was only for those who have a relationship with the Lord, we'd be missing something, because we need to be the people who invite people in. People with addictions, people with lifestyle, the way their lifestyles. That is our job, to bring them into fellowship so they can look at us and say, I want what you want. I want what you have, I want what you have. I have people come up to me sometimes. I will not share, I did not share this last week, but I am for 2 years I was abused as a young child. And not by my dad, want to make sure. But the Lord radically healed me. And I mean radically healed me. Some of you in here may know this. I'm just giving you my testimony for a moment. Some of you may have been at the point where you felt like suicide. I think we talked about this at women's retreat. Did I talk about this at women's retreat? Did I? I think I did in a little more detail. But the Lord radically saved me, and I had thought I was going to commit suicide, or I wasn't sure what I was going to do, because I could not get rid of this anger and this hurt, even as an adult. And the Lord changed my heart. And there's so much more I could tell you on that. But friends, I got to tell you, people come to me now and say, why are you so happy? Why are you? I work in a public school, high school, my grade of choice. I love high school students. And people are like, how can you do that? There's so much language. There's so much this. There's so much that. We had a boy who was a transvestite. And he knows that Greg's a pastor, and he knows where I stand spiritually, and I loved him, and he loved me, and he would come to school in the 0 period, which started at 7 a.m., and he would put his makeup on at school, and he would just smear it. And so finally I said, you know what, Zach, start meeting me at 6:45. I'm going to show you how to put makeup on. And he said, Mama G, why would you do that? And I said, because I love you. He said, yeah, but you're a Christian. And I said, that's why I love you. I just happened to see Zach a week ago yesterday at the high school. He graduated, and interestingly enough, he doesn't wear makeup anymore. And I said Z, because he wanted us to call him Z at that time. He said, you know what, Mama G, you can call me Zach. I went, okay, Zach. Why the change? He goes, I don't know. He said, I'm not a Christian. But I'm just changing a little bit. Friends, our goal as Christians is to get people who I want to reflect Jesus Christ. And then when I reflect Jesus Christ, people come up and they say, wow, I don't know what it is about you, but whatever it is, I want it. Well, and I say, gosh, I'm just trying to live my life the way Jesus did. Thank the Lord. I want to just share with you just a brief thing about the next song, actually. I'm the fourth of 5 kids. My parents were married for 64 years, and I lost my daddy this year. And he was the best. And I hope you all think that way about your parents, by the way. And my mother is 90, and I just got back from taking her camping. And we all the kids took her camping. We've gone camping for about 53 years, every single year. And so this was year number 54, and took her camping. And I don't know if I'll share with you what I shared with the worship team. Maybe I shared with you already. But when I got back last night, we got back about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I did worship at Rowland Heights last Sunday. I had not brushed my hair since last Sunday morning until last night. That is how extreme we camp, right? We sleep outside. We only shower in the rivers. I didn't even brush my hair for 1 week. That's how grotesque I was. So anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. But I have an older brother, Joel, who's in prison in Massachusetts. And do any of you guys have any loved ones who are incarcerated? Love them. That's a whole nother story, man. I've got a miracle story about my brother that if we had time, which we don't, I would share. But if you have loved ones who are incarcerated, make them part of your story. Make them part of your family. That's a whole nother thing. I'll come back sometime and share that. But then I have a sister, Dana, who is, we're all very, very close. By the way, all 5 kids, we're very tight. And Dana is battling terminal cancer, and she loves the Lord. And she will not survive this unless there's a miracle. But so we're starting to do our little bucket list things, and we're going to go on a trip in January, and she has to have experimental treatment in Houston at MD Anderson every 3 weeks. So my other sister and I tag team, and my sister teaches our other sister teaches at Cal State Monterey Bay. So she went with Dana all summer, and I'm going with her all the way through December, which really isn't that many times since it's every 3 weeks. But so I love my sister. And then my next sister, Robin, I talked about her a little bit last Sunday. She is not a Christian. She was only able to have one child. She miscarried, one pregnancy held. She had one child. And that child was in between my 2 daughters, age-wise. And when Camila was 23, we were camping where we were this last week up in Kings Canyon. She said, "Mom, I'm not feeling good. My armpit hurts. There's, something's not right." 5 days later, she was diagnosed with acute leukemia, and 9 months later, she passed away. And my sister's only child, and my sister who was an absolute non-believer. So we work on my sister, and we love her, and then myself, and then I have a little brother who lives in Porterville. But I want to share with you about this song that I'm going to sing next. It's called Wooden Altar. And my father, who passed away, he was, before I knew him, he was a very mean, angry alcoholic. I never saw that side of him because by the time I came into the family, he was a God-loving, happy, gentle man. And my father was a school teacher. He taught junior high, his grade of choice, and he was quite strict. But my father also, when he crossed the line into having a relationship with the Lord, he went all the way in. He quit drinking that night. He quit smoking that night. My mother quit smoking that week because there was a revival, and my mom, people were bugging my parents about coming to revival, and they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go, so they did. Okay, I'm just going to get them to shut up, so I'm going to go, so they can quit bugging me. My mother accepted the Lord the first night. She had a 4-pack-a-day cigarette habit. 4 packs! And she quit cold turkey that night. And my father, the last night of revival, quit smoking, quit drinking, decided he was going to try to live his life the Lord's way. And a few months later, he yelled from the backyard for my mom, "Bobby, Bobby, Bobby, come here." Mom ran outside and Dad said, "I know I'm a Christian because I hit my finger with the hammer and I yelled out frog." And it's like, "Yeah, Dad." So, all these years we'd go frog to my dad. But he was apparently a very angry man. And when I grew up in our small little home, we had some financial issues because of the legal issues with my big brother. And there were holes in all of the walls and in all of the doors. All of the doors were pounded in. And we couldn't afford to fix them. I never grew up thinking that I was poor or anything. The doors just all had holes in them. So, big deal. But when my father decided that he was going to cross that line and make it real, he wasn't going to go halfway. He radically changed, and my father became an unbelievable witness for the Lord. I can remember times my mother worked nights, and I can remember times Daddy would say, "Okay, we have to leave for church early because, kids, I'm going to drop you off because I'm going to go pick up a car full of students." And what he would do with students who were troubled or who were really angry or whatever, he would say, "You know what? You need to be at church. Be out on your curb Sunday morning. I'm picking you up at this time." And my father was such a strict teacher, and the times were a little bit different, right? They did not dare say, "I'm not going." They said, "Okay, Mr. Kalk, I'll do, yes, sir." So Daddy would bring a whole car full of kids to Sunday school. He'd drop them off, and then he'd go back and pick up another car full of kids. And out of that ministry that my father had, we have three. What did I say? 3 chaplains. One was a chaplain of the Pentagon. We have 12 pastors. 4 missionaries. This is all not because my dad knew the Bible very well. Friends, he didn't. He couldn't quote scripture if his life depended on it. Maybe Genesis 1:1 and John 3:16. Not because he knew the doctrine of the Nazarene church. Not because he was well versed in the original languages of Hebrew and Greek. But only because the Lord had changed his life, and he wanted other people's lives to be changed like his was. And he became an ambassador for Jesus Christ. And before I sing my song, I just need to remind you, friends, that goes for every single one of us. Let's be ambassadors for Jesus Christ. Let's have people look at us and say, "You know what? I don't know what it is, but I want what you have. Why do you have a joy? Why are you happy?" Get people to want what you have and then bring them in. We sometimes pray, "Lord, bring people into the church, bring people into the church." And I think the Lord sometimes scratches his head and says, "What are you saying? You bring them in. You bring him in." Friends, this week, when you do whatever it is you do, you work, you exercise, you go to the store, you go to the gas station, you do whatever it is you do, start being intentional. Think, "Lord, who can I minister to today?" Get some of the church's business cards. Pass them out. Don't just pass them out like candy, but when you see someone and you start a connection with them and you start to feel, I call it my 911 prayer. "Lord, help me right now. I got to say something right now." And he does. He's so faithful with that. Say, "You know what? I would so dig it if you met me at church. I'll pick you up. Let's go out to breakfast." Or, "Come with me to church and I'll take you out to lunch. Let's go out to lunch." Let's be intentional about being Christians, about bringing people into a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what my father did. This next song is called Wooden Altar, and I want you to know that every word in this song is accurate. It's we were at a church, the first church in Porterville, and it was like our 50th anniversary celebration, and so they let us have a service there, and so I have 5 minutes. Wow. Okay. So I said, Daddy, do you remember where you accepted the Lord? And my father took my hand, and he had tears in his eyes, and he walked me up to the altar, and he said, my tears fell right there. And so it was very meaningful to me, and so I called him, and I said, okay, a couple weeks later, I said, I'm going to ask you questions, answer them honestly. And every single detail of this song is out of my dad's mouth, okay? Is the monitor on? On the right side of the church, sitting way up close, sat a man with a son and his wife. It was the last night in this town, revival would be shutting down. He sat there silently thinking of his life. Just as I am was playing quietly, and the man stared ahead fervently, that's the word he used, at the altar made of wood for those who grieve misunderstood. He felt he'd failed in every way. He's tired of his own resistance. He would step out if he could. His heart pounds and he knows he should. But why would Jesus meet him here at the altar made of wood? It was 1955. His wife was waiting by his side, and she watched as he took his first step. The wood creaked as he knelt. He was surprised at all he felt. People surrounded him as he wept, and as he later walked back to his chair, he was amazed that God would meet him there at the altar made of wood for those who grieve misunderstood, who feel they failed in every way. They're tired of their own resistance, who would step out if they could. Their hearts pound and they know they should. But why would Jesus meet them there at the altar made of wood? Years later, I asked the man about the place where Jesus had shown him an amazing grace. He led me to the front and I saw it well, the one where all my daddy's tears fell. And as I held his hand, I said a prayer. I thanked God that he met You would step out if you could. Your heart's bound and you know you should. Jesus will meet you here at the altar. Isn't that special? Every word. I'm going to close. Obviously, we're going to skip. Sorry. I'm going to close with a song, just an affirmation for each one of us. When we feel discouraged, when we feel like we don't feel the Lord's presence. How many of you guys feel that way sometimes? I just don't feel you at all, Lord. I can't feel you. What am I doing? Is it right? Is it the right thing to do? What? And this is simply an affirmation, a song I wrote that reminds us. There is a God. He really lives. There is a quiet peace that a Savior gives. Once truly dead, He's now alive. He's cheering for you as your tired hearts revive. There is a God. And He loves you. Jesus is real. The story's true. He's on your side and He enjoys the view. He makes you think. His Spirit's here. You will see purpose when you look in your mirror. There is a God, and He loves you. He answers prayer, removes your mask. He knows what you think before you even ask. He speaks your name, He'll return for you. And at that moment, what was old will become new. There is a God. There is a God. There is a God. And He loves you. Thank you. God bless you guys.